Alright, welcome back everybody. What I want to do in this video is talk about bottom drains and gravity fed filter systems. This is the number one question I get asked on YouTube. Still people ask me how does the bottom drain work, how does the retrofit bottom drain work, how gravity filter systems work, and even things like if my filter bins overflow when the pump dies. So I'll try my best to answer all those questions, and we'll also look at things like, a couple of different options available for bottom drains and what you can do if you want to change your pump fed filter system to a retrofit bottom drain like I've got here. Okay, now to try and show that on video is a bit difficult, or try to explain it on video, so I'm gonna just get a pen and paper and do some drawings of how the whole thing operates and kind of use that as an example of how it works. Alright, first thing I'm going to look at is your traditional pump fed filter system. Okay, so in this case we've got a pond, and beside the pond you've usually got some sort of filter system. Now within the pond you will have a pump, and what generally happens is the water is pumped up into the filter, and commonly the filter will sort of overflow and return back to the pond. Now that's a very common example of what you'll find in a lot of garden ponds, and it's perfectly suitable for a small number of fish or goldfish or anything like that. If you're kind of hoping to grow koi or keep a high number of fish or feed a lot of food, it is inadequate from the start as far as I'm concerned. And the reason for that is having the pump in the pond. So what's going to happen is when the solid food waste enters that pump, the impeller inside the pump is going to macerate all that waste, which turns into a kind of a fine mucky liquid, and it just makes life very difficult for the filter to try and remove that waste, and it just becomes suspended in the water. So straight away it makes the filter system a lot more inefficient. Now you will find a lot of people who will debate that they've had success with keeping koi in a filter system like this, but like I said, you're sort of disadvantaging yourself from the very start. Okay, so in my opinion this is not the most effective means of filtering your koi pond. Okay, moving on from the pump fed system, let's look at a gravity fed filter system. Alright, so what we usually have in this case is a pond with a sloped floor, and beside the pond you've got your filter chamber. Again, it's really irrelevant what this is. Let's just make it a three-way chamber. So you'll have your mechanical filtration, biological, and then in the last chamber here we'll put the pump. Right, now the way this works is on the floor of the pond you're going to have a big drain pipe, which is generally like a 4-inch drain pipe that will connect the pond to the filter system. Let's just draw that one in. Like so. Now before we go any further, let's just talk about water levels, because this is a question a lot of people ask me. If the water level in your pond is this high, your filter system is going to maintain the same water height because both bodies of water are connected. Okay, so if I add water to the pond and it rises the level in the pond, the filter chamber is automatically going to rise. Now what happens here is any fish waste that's generated in the pond generally falls down the sloped floor and into the bottom drain. From there the water goes along the drain up and into the filter system, where obviously in this chamber the physical waste is removed, then the biological filtration happens, and then finally the water is pumped back to the pond. Alright, that's how it works. And the big advantage here is, and this is why any koi keeper will recommend this system, by the time the water gets to the pump, it's clean, okay? It has passed through both stages of filtration, and clean water is pumped back to the pond, right? We don't have any of that fine muck in suspension, because the big chunks of fish waste have passed through the mechanical filtration. They haven't been minced up by a pump. Passes through both stages of filtration and then is pumped back to the pond. Alright, so that's how a gravity fed or bottom drain filter system works. Alright, finally, what I wanted in my pond was this system, but unfortunately I had already built the pond as basically like a solid box. I had no drain in the floor and I didn't have any sloped walls. So what I done was I took this concept, and this drain that's buried under the floor I've actually brought up in the pond. Okay, so my bottom drain goes up and through the wall of the pond, like so, and then it enters the filter system, which is the very same as above. You've probably seen my 3 bins. Okay, so we've got mechanical filtration, biological, and finally the pump. Okay, now on this here I've got what's called a bulkhead fitting, and I'll show you one of those in a second. That's what seals it, and obviously on the end of the pipe, the pipe's got to sit off the floor a little bit, and to stop any fish getting sucked up, I've just put a shroud over the end of the pipe, which it was just a plastic breakfast bowl or something. Okay, now again, of course my water levels are always going to maintain the same level because both bodies of water are connected, and as the muck goes in here, goes through the pipe, through the filtration, it gets pumped back to the pond. Alright, so that's how a retrofit bottom drain works. It is a lot more efficient than a pump fed system because obviously I'm not macerating the waste. It isn't as effective as this system mainly because I haven't got the sloped floor, and also with these big drains you can use big 100mm pipes. The biggest bulkhead fitting I could find at the time was like 50mm, which is like adequate for what I want, but obviously the big pipes would be more effective. I've got an example of what one of those bulkhead fittings looks like right here. This, if you were to look at this is pretty much what's going on in my pond. Okay, so the water gets sucked up, goes through the pipe and into the filter system. This is some 20mm retic pipe, which is obviously a lot smaller in diameter, but it's the same sort of principle. Alright, so this is what goes through the wall of my pond. It's got a rubber seal on both sides. You can tighten it up, get a nice snug fit. That goes onto the filter. And then obviously the inside here is what sucks up the dirt. Alright, so that's your retrofit bottom drain. Obviously your dedicated gravity fed koi pond. And we also looked at the sort of common pump fed filter system. Look, I hope that sort of answered any of the questions people have. I think I've covered most areas, and I've kind of discussed why this system is a lot more efficient. Certainly if you're thinking about building a pond, that's what you need to look at. Okay, I wouldn't consider anything else. If you already have a pond that's a pump fed filter system and you want to improve on it, something like this is a big improvement. Okay, still not as efficient or effective as a dedicated bottom drain with sloped floor, but a big improvement. Alright, well, thank you and hope you've enjoyed the video.